this thing on?
Welcome to Shop Shock. We're going to explore the retail landscape through an optimistic lens because retail can be successful despite the chaos around us. So I'm Deanne. I have 20 years of experience in retail design, operations, and customer experience.
And I'm Chuck Palmer. I am a digital product manager and consultant. I work with retailers and brands to make their technology work for consumers.
Today, I think we were talking about AI agents.
I like the fact that we can personify it. Whenever something new like this happens and comes up, it quickly becomes a buzzword, like omnichannel. Remember omnichannel?
Oh.
And most people should know that the word omnichannel came from a consumer perspective. That's the way consumers thought of it. They didn't actually use the word omnichannel because this was sort of an observation and discovery from an academic. I always go to these things with caution and look at the real customer value of these things. And I know the engineers are excited about the fact that you can set these things up to buy your concert tickets or whatever, and tell all your friends and like order hors d'oeuvres for the pre-party or whatever. I just don't know if that behaviorally people are going to do that or trust it.
I know that a lot of retailers are talking about using AI to help them with product assortments. And I see a huge upside to using AI to localize your product assortments by store. I know, think about a store like TJ Maxx. So they change out their product assortment weekly, and they do this manually right now. Well, what if every store could use AI to dynamically localize their product assortment for each neighborhood? Each store. I mean, you could create this incredible nuance. AI could then detect the hyper local trends around each store. What's the weather like in this area? What are the cultural trends in this area? They could look at TikTok. What is TikTok doing in this area? And that would really immensely impact sales in that store, in that area. You'd have higher sell-throughs. You would need fewer markdowns. You could really right size your staffing demands because you'd know what your traffic patterns would be. It would save you labor. It would help you with planning your planograms, help you in predicting what kinds of products you need to sell. But at the same time, it's going to add so much complexity to your weekly resets, that human nuance as well, because we have this spidey sense of understanding these soft cultural signals like local traditions, sensitivities that AI is not going to pick up, and we're going to miss those. And that's really where the secret sauce of connection between humans and retail and brands comes into force and creates that bonding, lasting loyalty.
Yeah, when I was a merchant at Macy's back in the 18th century, I was based in San Francisco, and I knew that all the small sizes in a size run were going to, in particular stores, were going to sell out fast because they had Hispanic and Asian communities near them. And that is, we had to struggle with shipping an assortment to a store and then transferring it, right? And so that's always part of the math. But I think you're right that just from an assortment standpoint, it can do a lot of things. In some cases, it's localization. Some cases it might be freshness, and or time, and all those factors you can train the models to consider all those things. But the operational complexity, the operational shift is going to have to be. That's where the complexity comes in. When you were talking, I was thinking, oh, well, this creates new requirements for store design.
Yeah.
And what would a store look like if it were fully informed by these large language models and like from all those things that you just listed?
Well, and brand is going to become so important as AI moves shoppers further away from the retailer. I mean, 80% of the shopper's journey starts online before they even go into a store. By the time they get into a store, they kind of have an idea of what they want, what you sell, what they like. They may not buy any of those things, but they have a plan roughly in their head when they show up in your store because they've looked online. Now they're going to have their agent look online for them. And so they may never go to your website. So now when they look at their agent's going to learn their tastes, and they're going to come up with a list of things based on the parameters. You know, I want waterproof boots that do this, this, and this, and I want them to be no more than $150. And so the agent's going to come up with 3 choices. And if your brand doesn't show up in that list, you're kind of screwed. And so again, and then at the same time, the shopper's going to pick from the brand, not necessarily from the retailer.
Which could cause reinvention of the idea of private label, right?
Right.
You know, private label very often is the lower priced, maybe different alternative on the shelf to, you know, the big brands.
Yes.
And those happen in the context. That's merchandising, right? You know,
Yep.
This one sells that one, and, you know, because it's of choice. When we start to strip that away, but I'll say this: if you train your agent to give you more choice or provide pricing ranges, you know, it's gonna. I think if this thing really happens, it's going to force people to actually think through what their behavior is, and putting the onus back on the individual consumer, which I'm a fan of. And somewhere in here might be more of an ownership of that information, and more proactive engagement in managing your personal economics. I mean, this is about spending money, and you know, for some folks, they don't have to think twice about it, and some folks have to scrutinize every purchase. So,
well, and that is something that I've been thinking about a lot. Is we need to have a conversation about who owns our personally trained AI agent.
Right.
Because we don't own the platform. So whoever owns the platform is going to say they own our agent.
Yeah.
But they shouldn't. To your point, that we've trained that. That's our agent.
Right.
And it's our partner in crime that we have worked very hard, trained our tastes. And yet the plug can be yanked on it at any time.
Exactly.
And that agent is ratting us out every minute of every day, feeding our personal data to who knows who.
Right.
And that's a conversation that is incredibly important.
I would think that an organization like ChatGPT is thinking about this sort of thing, because they've made it maybe a month or 2 ago. They made an announcement that they're going to be a consumer focused company, which, you know, gets you broad appeal, mass adoption, sort of eliminates the competition, and then they can do all the sort of back end professional stuff that you know. I mean, Amazon has AWS, right? And so we'll see about that, but there's still the possibility that they're going to do that. And, you know, we're not good at maintaining the organizations that are for the greater good. I think Wikipedia still is around, but
I donate to Wikipedia every year just because of that.
Yeah. And so that's an interesting point about doing it for us, because we're used to somebody handing us something like, here's an agent, use it. Here's a browser, use it. Oh, by the way, don't look at all this data that we're collecting from you.
Yeah.
Just as long as you get your coupon or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the context in which a lot of people are thinking about building AI tools, agents, whatever they become.
There's a bigger risk with AI agents, because we have this tendency to anthropomorphize. Anything that looks remotely human, we attribute human qualities to. And if it doesn't let us down, if it does things for us, we start to trust it. So now we have an AI agent that is trained to our likes and dislikes, and it's going to always give us what we want, and we're going to grow to trust it to a level unprecedented.
That is an emotional realm that not everybody's comfortable with in interpreting. And that's where, the folks out there that do understand that can inform how to build these things, because what builds trust is reliability and success, validation. And that's why a lot of the AIs are very sort of complimentary and reinforcing and validating. I know I fell for it at the beginning when I was building these personal assistant sort of ideas around different parts of my what I needed. When we personify, we start talking about things like trust and reliability, or betrayals, or letting us down, or those things that are like, how does that affect the stock price?
Exactly.
And I'm sure there's an AI out there that's going to figure that part out too, right? So just watched the latest episode of Star Trek, which I know you're a fan, right?
Oh, big time, yes.
And Strange New Worlds, and they had this sort of prototype holodeck that they're experimenting with, and there's all kinds of rationalization about why this ship before Kirk's Enterprise has. Anyway, they started out with an AI prompt. Give me an environment that is challenging. It was this sort of like, it was very much worded like an AI prompt. It was written that way. And I was like, okay, I'm hoping that in 250 years, we're still not doing those things. But I also hope that we figure out warp travel and transporters too.
And I kind of wanted to see what you thought about, because I've been thinking also about the next level of AI in retail, and that is where it starts to work on physical stores and physical systems, because Amazon was talking about shifting their warehouses to no humans, all robots. And when they do that, they're not going to need lights anymore. And the cost savings to them, because robots don't have eyes, so they don't need light.
Wow, that's great.
And isn't that wild?
Yeah, building a massive building without lighting.
Yeah. And probably not much in the way of heat, just enough to keep the robotics healthy. But then agentic systems in stores could kind of be like a conductor of the store, and every day they could adjust your lighting and your music and your signage and shelf placement, and it could be dependent on weather or customer mood, depending on time of day or what's going on. It's game day, so let's fire everybody up. Retailers could really connect to people through their in-store experience, through AI having autonomous control over the stores.
Yeah.
But at the same time, does this eliminate the need for a store manager position? Can you give employees a handheld device, and every day the AI kind of guides them through what they need to do?
Perhaps, I mean, it's hard. It's when you said that, I was like, no, okay, maybe. I grew up in retail, and I can't imagine a store without a store manager. But if that store manager is an AI and it's trained properly, it can handle customer service issues. It can handle escalations. Yeah. It can handle budgets. It can handle all those things probably better than most humans, and simultaneously based on the parameters of what the corporation sets up. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, does that? And I always go to this sort of like, and that makes that frees up the staff to be better with customers.
Yes.
How often that really happens, I don't know. I mean, that's the trope in self-checkout. It's supposed to be like, now the people get to concentrate on customer service, except there's only one person now, and they're supposed to be doing shelf tagging. That's the reality of the operations of how that works. So,
and that's a discipline that I would love to see retailers learn, because the lift to sales for a great human to human interaction between staff and customer, and retailers aren't measuring that. They aren't looking at that. They're just looking at the pure short-term cost savings of cutting staff. Great, your books look good for about 6 months, and you make your Wall Street numbers, and your investors are happy. But you could grow your revenue so much more for the whole year if you actually kept one or two more of those staff people and train them to really interact and serve your customers.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's dependent on the business, maybe not so much with convenience retail, but with other types of business, it's more important.
And I always go back to the behavioral part of this, because as much as I want to believe what I was taught is good customer service is still relevant, it's not relevant for everyone. Right? Some people don't want to engage. Some people want to just go in and get out. Some people want to never walk into a store. But from what I understand, the youngins are interested in physical experiences, right? And so, oh wow, they're human. And that's a human trait, that we desire those kinds of interactions.
Well, have you ever been to a really good restaurant with professional waiters? They know exactly when you want them and when you don't.
Right.
And the same thing with a retail store. They know when you're just looking and when you actually want engagement. They are trained to recognize the body language,
mm-hmm.
and it's almost intuitive. And
mm-hmm.
so that's where the training comes in handy. And you can train people to have that level of customer awareness. And that's where AI can really come in handy and help and allow people to free up from the daily tasks so they can be trained to that level of engagement.
Merchandising en masse has shifted to easy choices, bundled things, or like, I mean, if you walk into a Men's Warehouse today, the variety of the choice of suits is like A to B. It's like black, not even that much black. It's like gray or navy for suits. Try to buy a beige linen suit to go to a nice dinner on a summer night. You have to go online, and it ends up being cheapest. I'm wondering if there's a possibility. This is all like super optimistic blue sky stuff, but do we see an environment that takes the pressure off the economics of three kinds of suits? You know what I mean? Like value meals, people were overwhelmed with choice. It becomes less about picking from this menu and more like, this is what I want, and it is available. Then people will start to be more engaged. Because right now the bar of service is really low. My son worked at Target for a while, sort of during and after the pandemic. And my son is the kind of guy that just loves to engage people. And he's a stock guy. He would come home with stories about how he would carry something out, like a TV or something, because it's big, and they the staff carries it out to the customer's car, and he would get tips. And I was like, well, that's just part of the job, isn't it? But for people on the receiving end, that's a surprise. That's a delight to have somebody thoughtful enough to say, this is big. Would you like me to carry it out to your car for you and help you get it in your car? And not every Target employee thinks that way. He just sort of naturally went there. And he got this sort of like little reputation in the store as being the guy that you send to do that sort of thing, because not everybody knows how to do it, right? And that has a bigger connotations perhaps to our society, but that's what drives purchase decisions. So, do we have an opportunity here to elevate the experience and continue to make money? Yeah, I hope so. I don't know.
Well, I think AI could be a big tool for that, in that, much like it could automatically adjust your lighting and music and signage to create an environment that promotes more shopping and more engagement. It could also gather all of the relevant local information to understand what's going on and recommend what to do with merchandising. So it's going to rain, so bring the umbrellas forward. and you're going to sell 3 times more. And
it's just
it's
what a
a hot
smart
day. Yeah,
store manager or department manager would do. And if you can scale that,
yeah.
it would be, I think it would be valuable. I,
Right.
I,
I
I
mean,
love,
C-stores have already proven that they sell 20 to 40% more cold drinks on hot days, but they don't always think to bring bins of those up to sit near the checkout as impulse buys. And so AI could flag that, like tomorrow's going to be hot. Start bringing those things on wheels up and set them by the checkouts.
yeah, and things like that make sense to me because I've lived and breathed this all my life, could be operationalized.
Yeah.
It could be, like, this is a standard. You can set these standards that are sort of soft standards. They're reactionary. You're reacting to the environment. I like the idea of a dynamic or context aware environment that is built to gather data and use it to benefit the business and benefit the customer. And that's, equal parts traffic and sales data as much as it is making the lighting right, or the music right, or the assortments right, or the shelf configurations right, or whatever. We're talking like probably sci-fi here, but the idea of a store becoming interesting every time you go in it is interesting, right? You mentioned TJ Maxx. The hunt, the find is still at the base of what they do, and people shop. That's like I think one of the few places that people actually shop.
Yeah.
Instead of procure.
Yes.
And because you don't know what's going to be on those shelves, right?
Right.
You don't know that you really need that new roller bag.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But that idea, I think AI can drive that, or at least, again, this is the purpose of these sort of blue sky ideas, is to inspire us to get to where we're going. It might not be that, it might not end up there, but it informs the process, and that's what I love about this stuff.
We've talked a lot about AI in the store and how it helps retailers and the things that it can do for the store. I think it would be interesting to talk a little bit about what it's going to do for the shopper, because everybody's talking about how great it is and all the wonderful things it's going to do for the shopper,
and that it's inevitable. There's a sort of inevitability about at least from the tech world.
Exactly. But how I see an agent being used in the way that it's talked about the most is you create this agent, and you train it to your likes and dislikes, and then you set it to the things that you don't care about, like toilet paper and paper towels and the stuff that you replenish on a regular basis. You can just set it to what price you want it to pay. Don't ever pay more than X, and always look for a sale. And then I want it every 6 weeks or whatever, and it will just always be looking for offers on it. And then it'll buy it on a regular basis, and it'll just show up on your doorstep, and you don't have to do anything. You can just forget about it. And there's this magic toilet paper that shows up on your front doorstep every 6 weeks.
I'm sure somebody's working on magic toilet paper too.
And you get the bill, and they're talking about putting payment options in AI, so you can buy directly in AI.
Yeah.
And you giving it your credit card, which
yeah. None of this. Any consumer that spends any decent amount of money in a year and isn't in the business is asking for this, right? And it's not really a problem to be solved. It's an engineering feat that they can imagine, as it often is in the stage of technology. When people get excited about it, they create these scenarios, and we've seen this time and time again in retail, and it's all driven by get their money faster.
Yeah.
Right? Get their money with less effort. We just have to do a little bit of social media, impactful messaging, and we'll stay in their minds.
Yeah.
I don't think that works. And I think that customers are not loyal anymore. There are very few things that people are really, sort of loyal to. And I hate using the word loyal because it seems like they're disloyal. And it's not. It's my money and I get to spend it the way I want to. And if you're not interesting or if you're not on my radar, then that scenario that you described sort of takes the onus off of the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And I get the convenience idea there, but God, do we not have bigger imaginations? Is that all we can think of is get their money faster, smoother? What else can it do? Let's, and I'm not, maybe we can riff on this, but it's unimaginative at best, but let's say it happens. What would you do that with? Toilet paper? I was thinking, honestly, there are some things that I buy from Amazon Fresh regularly. And it's really easy to go into the, like, what did you buy previously? And just go click, 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 click.
Yeah.
Blueberries, yogurt, granola, milk,
you're
eggs.
Healthier than me.
Yeah.
Pistachio ice cream.
I don't order the pizzas from Amazon Fresh. That comes from the local pizzeria. So I can see that but I've never liked the subscription idea for this kind of thing because I don't know that I need it. Like, actually, I have a subscription to Factor meals, which are very good, pre-made meals, microwave 2 minutes. They're really good. I got sick of them after like 2 months.
Yeah.
And so I started skipping weeks, and then I missed the window to skip, and I ended up with 10 pre-selected meals, and they're in my freezer. and so that extra burden kind of makes me want to not have the subscription. And when it comes to stuff like this, and of course it's AI, so I assume I can set it, so to speak, to only initiate an order when I verbally say so. Ideally that's the kind of control. But if we're using somebody else's built agent, then who knows what kind of workarounds and things that are going to be installed in these things, not to the benefit of the customer, and it's interesting. It's an interesting possibility, but I think that there's probably bigger, more interesting things for AI to do for consumers.
Well, think about it from, one application I could see is taking it a little bit further and putting even more power in the hands of the customer and creating something, I call it Priceline for products, and let AI negotiate with the retailer and let agents renegotiate together and create almost dynamic pricing, but in reverse is I'm not willing to pay that much, and have agents kind of battling back and forth with the retailer, almost a reverse auction, getting the price down to what a consumer is willing to pay. That's, that could be kind of an interesting scenario. Not great for the retailer, but better for the consumer.
Yeah, if you think about buying consortiums that formed in the early part of the last century, that's how we got department store chains, right? And in the middle of America, we had federated department stores, and that was a collection of these things. And the reason they did it was to have the buying power. And can we do that for a bunch of individuals whoever's buying toilet paper today? Should that pricing be collective, and should it, that's pretty consumer centric.
Yeah.
And it's hard to think that would get initiated in today's environment. But it's possible. The tech's there.
Yeah.
It can be done. That seems like it's something like Finland would do for their people,
Yeah.
Because these things should be fundamentally, whatever, like toilet paper and personal hygiene products and things like that.
Well, and the other benefit too is AI is going to be really good at always looking for the perks, the loyalty programs, and it's going to be great at stacking coupons, stacking cash back deals, and so you're going to really be able to pay the best price, combining all of those incentives together. And so that's something that's very time consuming for people. Add the Kohl's dollars to the manufacturer's discount to the loyalty perks for the from the credit card, putting all that together. AI is going to figure that out for you.
Yeah, and if you think about the reasons for loyalty, because of the sameness in the product assortment, and you can get a Diet Coke at everywhere. So Circle K and 7-Eleven and Speedway have their own incentive and loyalty programs. So it's like you're paying people to come back. Yeah. And I wonder if with the freedom of AI, if those things become irrelevant. I don't know. I mean, it's we're inclined to imagine things that we live with now being different or better or worse with AI, but it also the possibilities of things we can't think about yet. Like if to your earlier point, if your agents are out there doing all this and it diminishes the impact or need or use of individual e-commerce websites, then what does that mean about branding and experience? And is it post purchase? Does Gap send you a thank you card after you've purchased from them because you haven't visited a store or their site? You just talk to your agent.
Yeah.
And and Gap doesn't ostensibly own that agent. So I'm sure somebody at very large retailers is figuring out how to use agents in their mobile apps, right? And have it, like Uniqlo. I need more of those socks every week.
Yeah. Well, Boot Barn, there's a retailer called Boot Barn, and they have a mobile app, and on their mobile app is an AI agent.
Oh yeah.
It's an older version. It's not the most current, but it's called Cassidy, and so you can get advice from Cassidy on your shopping journey.
And how do you think people use that? Can it answer detailed questions about the quality and construction of an item?
Well, that I haven't used the app, so I can't answer that question specifically.
Okay.
But ChatGPT can do that. You can use your phone and the image portion of the phone to scan a product on the shelf, and it will tell you everything you need to know about that product.
Okay. I've not done that, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The bad news, retailers are going to have a bigger gap between them and their customer. And because of the activity of AI now doing all the work of stacking the loyalty elements together, things like email marketing and all of that aren't going to be as effective coming from the retailer. And so what is a retailer going to do to build that affinity for them so that they show up when they show up in an AI list? The customer is going to pick them, that the customer is going to be more inclined to walk into one of their stores. And so that really, to me, signals that the physical brick and mortar aspect of a retailer is going to become extremely crucial, because that's really one of the last bastions of how a retailer is going to undeniably connect to a customer in a way that they can immerse them in their brand. They can create that stickiness in their memory, and it's free advertising. You walk down the street and you see a Banana Republic store. Even if you don't walk in the store, you remember that that I saw that store. That's a real entity, and it's very powerful. Yeah, and so that's going to really make the physical store very important. Any way you can get the customer to come into that physical store, so you can show them who you are, and really create an experience in that store that reinforces who you are. You can't look like every other women's clothing store. If you're a Banana Republic, you're going to have to create your own identity so you stand out. When they leave your store, they remember you, and you don't look like a Madewell or an Ann Taylor loft in their mind.
Well, and so how does Lululemon differentiate? They're vertically integrated. They're creating demand for particular products. A new pant that has an interesting thing that people want to have, a pocket somewhere where nobody thought about putting a pocket, whatever. You don't see that kind of innovation very often. And when we were talking about this earlier, I thought, well, gee, if we really diminish retail distribution, physical distribution through stores, then my agent should be able to go to the Levi's site too to get a pair of Levi's.
Yeah.
And then you get then it really becomes equal ground. They've been, brands and retailers have been dealing with that for forever, right? But that's about scarcity and exclusivity and things like that. And again, I think that if you're talking about that agent scouring the internet, I don't know that that's relevant anymore, and so it's kind of interesting. People still want a really great looking dress or a sweater or a gift for a friend or whatever. The way they get it feels like somewhere in here is more power to the consumer, but that's not always the case. That's not always the business model, right? I mean, yeah. So I'm interested to see how this is going to play out, because right now it's all speculation. That idea of the agents out there doing this stuff for you is, I think it's going to take a while for it to hit critical mass, but at the pace of AI, it might be like November,
Well, I like what you said about giving more power to the consumer. And I think that is good news. And ultimately, that is a piece of what's going to happen as consumers move a little closer to the brands. Disintermediation is accelerating, and brands are doubling down on direct to consumer, and it's going to flatten the playing field a little bit. But what this is going to do is it's going to make retailers have to compete on the fundamentals to get back to the fundamentals of good retail, good customer service, good in-store experience, keeping stock on the shelf, and following through on your values, not just on having sales all the time and discoverability and ads, shoving ads down your throat, and loyalty programs. And so that to me means we stand a chance of getting back to really good retail.
It might not always be in a store though. It might be on your phone, on your desktop, in your delivery box,
in your video game. Yeah.
Your video. Yeah. I mean, I've always wondered why they don't put a little bit more effort in packaging when, I know it's bare minimum, it's warehouse and all that stuff, but I don't know. I don't need more ways to buy Omaha steaks. That's not what I'm saying. Those coupons that some retailers throw in there. I'm saying, something on brand. When you buy an Hermes scarf, you don't just buy the scarf. You get that package that it comes in. You get the really wonderful bag that,
people want the bag almost as much as they want the product.
I have a collection of bags. At one point, I had a display of bags in my office of all these really great things. I was in London last fall, and I still have Selfridges bags that I use as gift bags, to if I'm giving my daughter something off the cuff, I'll throw it in a Selfridges bag with a little bit of tissue, and it's fun. That's the kind of thing that I hope retailers always think about this, but in this context, when that second moment of truth that I think P&G coined back in the day, the first one is the purchase decision. The second one is the use or opening or acquisition, whatever it is, just as important.
Yeah.
And I think we lose sight of that. I mean, I have several pairs of camper shoes, and their boxes, almost every shoe has a different kind of box. And I'm like, okay, that's probably not the most efficient thing, but you're not likely to throw it away as easily. And it's,
well, it makes you feel good about the brand. I mean, unboxing, Apple practically invented that aspect of product.
How many boxes do you have in a closet somewhere of your electronics? Because they're all that really good.
It's a really good box. I can't throw it away.
Maybe it's the fact that customers don't give a crap about this stuff, that the transparency of the mechanisms is important because you want the customer focused on the product, the price and whatever else their emotional drivers are, and all this hoo-ha, which brings me sort of to our segment later when we're going to be talking about crazy things in retail. The hero, the product has to be the hero, and the hero has to have relevancy and meaning to the customer, because everybody has a different hero, right? Smart brands will get that. Nordstrom will figure out how to layer that Nordstromness in. They're really good at even making Nordstrom Rack Nordstromy. It's ethereal and weird, and I've never been able to really describe the Nordstrom, but it's there, and I think that I hope that these things all last throughout this, because it could be a really dour and boring retail landscape, and I think we both talked about this and we agree that we love retail. We love stores. We love customers. We love the merchandise and the ways it gets done. And it's fun. It can be fun. I hope that somewhere in all of this is more space for that kind of joy, because God knows we need it.
Well, 80% of all retail sales still happen in stores, and that number hasn't moved in 2
Is
decades.
it still 80%?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. People want to be in stores, and that's just a human nature thing. But what's interesting to me is they don't necessarily know what they want in the store. They don't know they want a great bag. They don't know they want a nice box. They do know they want shelves with product on them. They know they want a clean store. They know they want polite help. They want a staff person that's trained to know when to approach them and when to leave them alone. They want these fundamentals, but they don't really understand that they beyond that, they don't realize that they'd love to have a place to sit in the store so that they can rest for a few minutes, and the benefits to that are that they'll dwell longer, they'll stay longer, they'll buy more stuff, but they'll show you if you watch. And so retailers just need to start spending more time watching what the customers do, and start adapting to the needs, and understanding the add-ons to the customer journey are really going to be important, and addressing those even though the customer doesn't ask for them. You may not think it matters that the customer to put a chair in a store because the customers never asked for it, but they're not going to ask for it because it doesn't occur to them to ask for it. But if you put one in, that they're going to use it, and you're going to see your sales go up.
I hope that this is an ongoing discussion. It's something that we're all going to be talking about for a long time. I don't think it's like one of those things like beacons that came and went, because it's so fundamentally it's a shift in computing. It's a shift in thinking about it. It's not about the zeros and ones as much as anymore as it is getting the prompt right. And that's where you have to have like emotional intelligence. You have to have creativity. You have to have critical thinking to really get those prompts right.
Well, at the end of our show, we decided we were going to do a segment called Retail Be Crazy. Just say this is a segment where we talk about some really wild and crazy stuff that retail is exploring. Some of it works, some of it doesn't. It's just fun stuff that's really out.
And this is if you don't recognize this is Printemps, the French department store that's recently opened an outlet in a financial district in New York City. It is over the top. And it is I think the thinking behind it is similar to the way Grand Palace department stores were built at this
Versailles.
time 100 years ago.
Oh Lord!
But it takes you a while to figure out what they're selling, And I was like, is this a shoe department? As a comparative note, when Nordstrom opened their store in New York City, it was a big deal. It was a long time coming. And I've always been underwhelmed by it. That store's environment is warehousey, and it doesn't seem warm, and any kind of like energy or interest seems to come from the brands. It's really set up to be brand showcases, which is where the marketplace is, etc. There's nothing bland about this. There's nothing, like it is as spectacular as the Tiffany Dome in the stores in Paris. If you look closely, there are mannequins in the windows, and those are windows, and it's like a cathedral, and
those mannequins are life size.
Yeah. I love it. I'm sure it's amazing. And for the folks that this was built for, this should be spectacular. This should be impressive. I mean, for those of us that don't shop environments like this, it is impressive, of course, and it's probably a head scratcher for some folks, but this is one of the most extreme retail environments I've ever seen. And if you go to the progenitors of this, the Grand Palaces in London and Paris, those places were built as stores. They were built to move the merchandise, engage people, bring them through, but I don't know what this is.
Well, for anybody who's not seeing the image, it's kind of like Frank Lloyd Wright threw up all over Versailles Palace. You can go look online.
And he probably did at one point.
You can Google shoe department printemps, and you'll see what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Did you know Chex cereal has a video game?
Yeah, this is interesting. I didn't know about this. You told me about it.
Back in the 90s, they sent a CD-ROM out in their cereal boxes for a game called Chex Quest. Now, CD-ROM, for all you kids out there, it's a round, flat, donut-y looking thing.
Hard media. Physical media.
Well, and this was in the 90s, and it was discontinued, but there were people who kept the CD and played the game and have been playing it all along. And there was such a demand for it that General Mills has brought it back. And so they've created a high def version called Chex Quest HD. And they released it in 2020, I believe. And it's available for free on Steam and for $4.99 on Nintendo Switch. And they were really... They put a lot of thought into this, and they wanted to give a big nod to their 90s nostalgia. So they used original voices from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for some of the voices of the characters. And they used original artists who worked on Mega Man and Tetris from the 90s.
Really?
So there's a lot of originality from the 90s that's been pulled into this high def version.
My son loved Mega Man. Like, I have pictures of him like pretending to be Mega Man.
And really what I thought was interesting is Chex has connected it to their product, because they have product codes on specially marked boxes of Chex Mix packaging products that unlock characters in the game. So they've kind of advergaming. They've merged gameplay with snack purchase behavior.
And that's great. I love that.
Well, and General Mills saw a 10% lift in Chex Mix cereal sales when they launched this game. So, I guess everybody, I love the names of the characters. They have Fred Chexter and Whitney Chexworth.
Okay.
And you have to kill the evil Flemoids with Zorchers.
Okay. And do you know what these guys are called? These little elephant-looking things?
These are Zorchers. Oh, these are the Flemoids. These are the bad guys.
That's who you're killing. Okay.
Yeah, okay. And this here is a Zorcher. You have to kill them with a Zorcher.
Okay, yeah.
But who knew? But anyways, retail be crazy. What can I say?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love that. That's a perfect one to start off with. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.